Welcome to Digital Asset News. We take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, we're going to be Ethereum heavy, as these recent articles are quite fascinating, actually. So first up, we have Ethereum leads to a billion-dollar milestone in push for decentralization of global finance. And thanks to lending, crypto is no longer a solution in search of a problem, which is going to get us into DeFi, which is really heavy on Ethereum. Plus, we'll get into my best case for Ethereum going to $10,000 and higher. Also, go over how to get out of the market when the time is right with the appropriate Ethereum exit strategy, because based on the previous two cycles after a Bitcoin halving, you really got about 30 days to get out, or else you're going to be holding bags like I did. So let's also move on and get to our scam of the day. First of all, thanks everyone who has participated in the scam of the day of getting rid of these scammers. It's been really nice to get rid of all these people out of this space, because there's a lot of people coming in 2020 and we don't want them to get scammed or screwed out of their money. So yesterday we had, I think, about 10 or so, and now we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 left. So excellent job. Really happy about the progress. Thank you so much. Let's get into today's stories. So first up, Ethereum leads to a billion milestone and push for DeFi, or global finance. So the total value locked in the Ethereum-dominated world of decentralized finance, or DeFi, has reached a major milestone, crossing the $1 billion mark. According to DeFi Pulse, the world's top 10 decentralized finance platforms include a list of Ethereum-based platforms with only one exclusion, the Lightning Network. So there's a list right here. I'm not going to go over all of them, but there's 10 of the top DeFi platforms, and they're all Ethereum-based. Every single one except for the Lightning Network. And that is what is contributed to this billion-dollar influx. And I got to tell you, it is exciting times, especially as we go through this article, the next one, and the $10,000 case for Ethereum. Let's keep going on. It states leading decentralized exchanges, or DEXs, including Bancor, Uniswap, and Kyber, contribute as much as $74 million in total value of the DeFi ecosystem. And interesting enough, it says here that the total trading volume on DEXs surpassed 10 million in only one day, according to Dune Analytics. That's pretty exciting type of stuff. Also, it says here that as the DeFi movement continues to expand, Ethereum is showing its versatility, and this is where it gets interesting. With developers building a wide slate of products, only $8 million in value is flowing through the Lightning Network. After that, it's all powered by Ethereum, the world's largest cryptocurrency platform for building and deploying decentralized applications. So much, so great. So this is just like a little warm-up to what we're going to go over. DeFi, I can see it as being one of the big major advantages of cryptocurrency digital assets and what is going to set the world on fire. Let's get into it. So next up, thanks to lending, crypto is no longer a solution in search of a problem. So the very first sentence, and this was a really well-written article. I'm going to follow the person that wrote this article. I forgot her name, but it's a fantastic one. She just starts out like this. What's the main value proposition of decentralized cryptocurrencies? Censorship resistance, cheap remittance, a store of value, a hedge during economic uncertainty. And it's a nice little, build up to what this whole story is about. And she's right. This is what our major thing is coming down the pipe, is like when we think of decentralization and cryptocurrency digital assets, these are the top things that we think about. But she puts it on its head and said, you know what? It's lending. Chief among them is lending. And the way that she puts it, it makes total sense to me as a business owner. So she says here, how can I save without being penalized? These are the things that people think about. And I can tell you right now, saving money like back in the old days is not the same thing. It's good to save money. I mean, we all need that emergency cash flow, right? We never know what's going to happen. You have to have some kind of reserves, 3 to 6 months. Some people say up to a year's annual salary. But that's where it pretty much stops. If you got people just saving and saving and saving in a savings account, first of all, you're never going to outspend the government. And the inflation rate's always going to outpace you. So really, all that money that is sitting in the bank, you are losing money on that. You are losing value on that money. You can't lose money on money, but you are losing value on that money every day, every week, and every year. So that sucks. So what do you do with it? Let's keep going on. States here the emergence of crypto lending aligns perfectly with the ethos on which Bitcoin is founded. Lenders or savers now have a means of retaining their crypto while earning a passive return on their holdings. Companies like Cred offer an APR of up to 10% to lenders of cryptos like Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. And to me, I was reading this, I'm like, all right, I see what you're saying here. And a little bit, we're going to look at Cred, the actual company, and some things that I find fascinating about it. Moving on, it says, in an industry first, Cred has also sealed a partnership with the Litecoin Foundation to roll out financial services to Litecoin holders, delivered via a standalone application overseen by the nonprofit foundation. Now, look, in some of my comments section, there's always people that ask me, like, because I always put my 6 assets that I have up. And these are the things that I've invested in: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Chainlink, EOS, and Cardano. Those are my 6. And people are always like, well, what about this one? What about that? What about Litecoin? What about Dogecoin? What about Tomato Coin? Or whatever. Look, in the old days, I had like 40 plus different coins I invested in. I'm not saying your project sucks or it's not good, or just because I don't invest it doesn't mean anything. I'm just some guy who does YouTube videos, right? So believe me, if you mention a coin to me, I probably owned it at some point. It's just that for me, these 6 are what I want to roll with, and that's fine. Your products that you have are probably awesome. And I will make mention of this right now. I do not care which one goes up. I don't care if it's outside of my 6 or inside my 6. If something like, let's say Tomato Coin, let's just make up a coin. Tomato Coin goes up. I'm like, great, it's cryptocurrency. That is fantastic. When these things go up, it brings attention to this space. And when the water rushes into the harbor, all the ships rise. So I'm ecstatic for that. So I don't understand the Bitcoin maximalisms, the XRP maximalisms, the Dogecoin maximalists. Those guys are crazy. I just don't get it, because we should all be happy for each other. We're a small percentage. We're just a niche market. So if something goes up, we should be like, yes, it's awesome. That one went up. That means that everybody's going to have their attention to decentralization, cryptocurrency, digital assets. This is fantastic. But instead, we all rip each other apart. I don't get it. We need to get on board, I think. Moving on. This is the crux of the whole article right here. It says crypto lending allows borrowers to borrow. Getting a loan from your bank to start a business used to be relatively straightforward. Today, if you're not fortunate enough to have a house you can pledge as collateral, you can forget about it. Here's the thing with banks. This is what I've learned in all my years. Banks don't loan you when you need money. Banks loan money to you when you don't even need it. When you are struggling as a startup, they ain't giving you squat. They're like, what do you got for us? Oh, nothing? Well, too bad. But then all of a sudden, they're like that fair-weathered friend when they come around like, hey, do you need some money? We see that you're doing really good in your business. Man, get out of here. I don't need your money. Well, actually, sometimes I do, so I shouldn't say it like that. But yeah, that's exactly what it's like. They don't give it to you when you need it. They give it to you when you don't need it. And that's just the way things go. Banks simply are interested in lending to small businesses, sole traders, and entrepreneurs. Gone are the days of needing to fill a mountain of paperwork and be left in limbo for weeks only to learn that your application has been denied. I have gone through that many a times, gone to the bank, tried to fill out applications, and waited weeks and weeks and weeks. They go, oh, sorry, you're denied. What a waste of time. In its place is a system. This is where they start talking about DeFi, where anyone with the crypto to collateralize can obtain a stable coin or fiat currency loan in minutes, allowing entrepreneurs to innovate without having to liquidate their worldly assets. And when I read that, I was like, now that's interesting. That's really interesting. But this next part is where it brings it all together. If liquidating your crypto holdings every time you have a cash crisis incurs tax complications with crypto lending, you don't have to. So think of it this way. You buy Bitcoin, let's say a couple years ago, and all of a sudden you get caught short on taxes, or you get caught short on liquidity, or you get caught short on payments, or whatever else it is. So now you have to sell that Bitcoin. Well, guess what? The IRS man's going to come knocking, and definitely this year. They're going to be like, hey, you sold that Bitcoin, and we know you did because the exchange notified us, and I know you got a 1099, so pay up, sucker. And that's a problem because you can never get ahead when you keep owing everybody. However, if you have something like this, where you have like a company called Cred, and I'm going to talk about Cred in detail, but this is not a paid promotion. I didn't reach out to Cred; they didn't reach out to me, and but I see them as a pretty good thing as far as DeFi goes. But if you read that sentence and you're like, I like that. I don't like to pay taxes. This is a viable option. And also it states if your bank is now offering a negative interest on savings, and for some of you guys out there outside the US, this is happening to you. I feel sorry for you. Sorry. You can opt out and keep your wealth in an arena that will provide a return commensurate to its value. Great word. If you're a borrower seeking a quick loan that doesn't command an eye-watering APR, lending is by no means the only use case for crypto. And they talk about that, decentralization and cryptocurrency and digital assets can be used for voting to derivatives and gaming to insurance, all that great stuff, right? However, lending might be the most practical thing, and I think it's all going to run on Ethereum, and that's why I believe Ethereum is going to take off and go big, and I mean big, big. So before we go on to the price predictions and exit strategies, I just want to go over CRED real quick. So CRED's got an option. I signed up. I'm going to see what it's all about. I'm not saying to do that, not financial advice. This is just what I'm doing. So you got two options. You can earn something or you can borrow something. So if you want to earn, you just sign up and they get back to you, right? But for borrowing, I was like, well, how does that work? So first of all, you have to have collateral, right? So you have to put up, let's say, an Ethereum or a partial Bitcoin or 1,000 XRP, whatever it is, right? And then you want to hold it. And then CRED offers sub 10% APR on loans, not 25% like banks and credit card companies. And I don't know about that. I mean, I've got some pretty low credit cards right now that aren't touching 10. They're touching like, 2, 3, 3, 9, somewhere around there. Somewhere 0, but just depends on what you want to do, I suppose, and how much you need. But yeah, sub 10% for some loans, especially with the business loans that I've had to get, it sucks. So yeah, that sounds pretty good. Sub 10%, sure. Then if you want to earn, same type of thing. It's all about like, hey, I have this many, I'm going to put this up, and you're going to pay me on a quarterly basis. So then I got into the weeds a little bit. I started to look at what was called the FAQ, the frequently asked questions. And the first thing that came up was, this was my big thing, is trust. Because we know that we go over these scams today. I'm like, well, how do I know CRED's not a scam? Because I believe everything's a scam until proven otherwise. Let me say that one more time. Everything's a scam until proven otherwise. So they talk about in this FAQ, which I don't like how they did this actually. They said some of the things you should consider when deciding upon CRED include the team, the partners, and you can review CRED's involvement with the Universal Protocol Alliance, which includes BitGo, Bittrex, Brave, and Certex. Public statements made by partners such as Michael Arrington, Mike Belshie of BitGo, Uphold, Price Waterhouse Cooper, PwC, and others. So I thought it'd be cool if they would just put a link to what the hell they're talking about, but they don't, so I had to do all the hunting for them, which kind of sucked. But Michael Arrington, if you don't know, he is a financial investor. A lot of things that he's invested heavily into, like Ripple and XRP, and he's done different things with hedge funds as far as cryptocurrency. So he does things with CRED, he does things with Nexo, and he's a big guy in this space. The other part where they talked about with BitGo, I know it's there, I just couldn't find anything, so I'm like, whatever. But what about this Price Waterhouse Cooper? And it talks about here in TechCrunch, out of giant Price Waterhouse Cooper is the latest mainstream firm to show new interest in digital currencies. This week it announced a partnership with the centralized lending platform CRED to advise on better standards for stablecoins. I'm like, all right, sounds good. And then MarketWatch talks about here about CRED and Universal Protocol Alliance join blockchain advocacy coalition. So looking at all things considered, I'm like, okay, it makes sense, right? But how can I trust them with my money? Oh, so the big question I actually had was, what happens if the value of my asset changes? So let's say I put up an Ethereum. Today it's around 200 bucks. I think it's like 221, somewhere around there. So what's going to happen, like, when I want to get it back? Well, it says here, irrespective of the market conditions, you will still receive stablecoin equivalent interest payments based on the price of crypto at the start date. So the day that you put up your Ethereum, whether that be collateral or you using it to lend out. Your stablecoin interest payments are based on the price of your crypto at the start date and will not adjust in the event your asset depreciates or appreciates in value. So the thing is, you're going to always get it back if you lend it, right? But they're not going to constantly fluctuate that money. Like, let's say it goes from Ethereum 221 to Ethereum 10,000 tomorrow. Who knows? It's cryptocurrency. They don't do that. They say, no, for those 6 months that it's in here, it's holding, you're going to get paid the interest on 221. Which, if you think, well, that's not so bad. That would suck if it went 10,000. What if it goes like 100 bucks? Well, you still get paid interest on 221, so not too bad. Also, It says here, when and how do I receive my interest payment? Interest payments start to accrue on the start date after Cred successfully debits your pledged asset from your Cred wallet. Interest payments are made to you every 3 months in the underlying digital asset or stablecoin to your Cred wallet until the completion date. How do I know before I go on, it talks about how my assets are safe. So the big question is, well, how long do I have to keep this not in arrears, but how long do I have to keep this within Cred? How long do they hold on to it? So it's going to be initially 6 months. So whatever you put up, you have to hold there for 6 months. Next question I had was, well, can I take it out early? No, you can't touch it. It's there for 6 months. You can't move. You can't do anything. At the end of 6 months, you have the option to take everything back, or you can extend it for 3 months and 3 months and 3 months to infinity if you wanted to, apparently. So it's all just sits there, but you have to let it go for 6 months. Right now, is that a good idea? I don't know. The Bitcoin halving is coming up in May 2020. I still think that it's not like the Bitcoin halving, like that day, everything rockets up. Statistically, it's going to take 1 to 2 years after that to see the big jumps. Now, I know that's kind of disheartening for some of you, but most of us that are on this video right now, we know that's a drop in the bucket. Because if you've been here since 2017 and got your teeth kicked in, you know you're like, hey, if you're still here, you got ice in your veins, you can ride out anything. So it's not a big thing. Anyhow, how do I know my assets are safe? This is a good one. Custodial assets held completely by either BitGo or BitGo Trust Company are insured up to $100 million through insurance group Lloyd's. The assets will be covered for third-party hacks, physical loss or damage of private keys, insider theft by employees, and other hazards. At the end of 2017, Lloyd's had about $44 billion in gross written premiums. The insurer has a presence in nearly 200 countries and blah, 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 blah. So it's super safe. Sounds pretty good. I'm like, all right, makes sense. I can be on board with that. And the last part, what countries are not supported? So if you're in any of these countries, sorry, Charlie, you can't participate. Everywhere from Albania, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, North Korea. North Korea? Really? That's crazy. I'm just kidding. It's not crazy. Yeah, so that's it. But if you're outside of those companies or outside those countries, then definitely take a look at Cred. Like I said, it's not financial advice, but it looks like an interesting prospect for some of you out there that may benefit from that type of service. Moving on, let's get into the big thing, Ethereum price, prediction, and exit strategy. So I did a video about 3 weeks ago or so where I talked about DeFi to 1 trillion. It did pretty well. Some people thought I was crazy. Some people still think I'm crazy. It's just how it is. But it very much came from this article. It says DeFi markets launch Ethereum to $1 trillion valuation. This is the idea where I got it from. And I'm going to skip most of it because I already went in that other video. I'm going to link it at the end of this video. If you want to watch that whole one, go right ahead. But I'm going to give you the highlights. So this was from Ryan Seth Adams, and I was like, who's that again? Ryan Seth Adams, he is the founder of Mythos Capital, and he started to talk about his case for the $1 trillion Ethereum market cap. And what he goes on to say is, there is a hefty chunk of capital currently idling in traditional finance, which if transferred to DeFi, would make the case for Ethereum's valuation soaring past $1 trillion. And I was like, great, well, what's he talking about, and how big of a chunk is that? Going on, he states the traditional synthetics and derivatives market is $640 trillion. That's trillion, $1 trillion. That's a lot of money. Imagine if 1% of that was trustless and built with Ethereum as bandwidth. The market cap for ETH could get in the double-digit trillions in scenarios like these. Crazy? I remember when 10 billion Ethereum seemed crazy, and look where we are now. I remember when, anything over 2,000 for Bitcoin was considered insane. Look how that jumped up. Ethereum, same thing. So this leads me to show you another little graphic that I like to always show. If you've seen this, you can fast forward 30 seconds. But basically it just says this is all the money in the world. So this this little square right here represents 100 billion, okay? So that's like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Carlos Slim. Here's all their companies. Here's the Fed's balance sheet, which I will remind you, the Fed's balance sheet between 2018 to 2014 jumped from 1 trillion to 4.5 trillion based on quantitative easing programs. You don't know what quantitative easing is? It's also called quack economics, and it's basically just printing money at will, and that's exactly what happened, and that's why I went from 1 trillion to 4.5 trillion. Only the government, my friends, only the government. However, we're going to see how much more money is going to be made later on. So coins and banknotes, that's 5 trillion. Commercial real estate, 7.6. Gold, 7.8 trillion. Let's say that this market takes 10%. I think that's an easy assumption because gold is not the greatest store of value. I think there's another type of digital asset you could use for that. Narrow money, this includes coins, banknotes, checking, 20.6. All the stock market, 70 trillion. Broad money, 80 trillion. All global debt, near 200 trillion. This was in 2016, mind you. I know it's way higher than that. And here's where we get to what that gentleman was talking about as far as derivatives. This is derivatives. $630 trillion. And this is where it stops because they're not for sure that's what it is. There is a thinking that they're like, well, we don't really know. And it could be 640 trillion or 30 trillion, or it could be 1.2 quadrillion. We don't know. It's just a bunch of money just sloshing around. So if you don't think that Ethereum can make a big dent in this by at least 1% to 5%, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. So my outlook was this. I believe Ethereum's going to hit 10,000. I don't know when it's going to happen. I think sometime before 2022 or the end of 2022, I believe. And I'm going to go over that in a second, but everybody's going to start talking about, well, do you know, what about the market cap and how much that is? At 10,000, that's ridiculous. Yes, I understand. Let's go over this real quick. So the current price right now is 221, I believe. Let's take a look. Might have changed. 221, hey. Now we need the circulating supply. So 109 million. So we'll put that in here. The market cap then is roughly 24 billion. And there it is. Roughly 24 billion. Okay, so now we know we're accurate, right? So let's just say like this. The circulating supply is around 109 million, right? And just so you know, the Ethereum network went live on July 30th with 72 million Ethereum pre-mined. So it was already there, it's set in stone. And from 2015 to now, they've only gone up about 35, 34 million. That's it. So if we kind of take that, maybe it's going to be a little bit higher. Let's just say this. Let's just say 109 million for right now to keep things even Steven, right? So let's say that the coin value goes up to 10,000. Then its market cap is 1 trillion. Great. Does 1 trillion seem outside of the realm of possibility with everything that we just talked about? DeFi, things being built on it, Ethereum, dApps, all these different things that are happening in the Ethereum ecosphere. 1 trillion to me seems light. $10,000 to me seems a little light with what Ethereum can do and is poised to do. I think it's a huge moneymaker, but we'll see. Not financial advice, just how I seize them. Now, talking about all these things, where do I get to $10,000? Let's take a look. So for this one, I like to look at the Bitcoin halvings and what the price action happened. So the first halving, the first one, remember Bitcoin's around 2009, around 2012, we had our first halving. The halving, it cut the miner rewards in half. So essentially all those miners, great job everybody, but you're going to be paid half of what you did for last time, which back then wasn't too big of a deal. So I said, okay. So November 20th, 2012, the price of Bitcoin, $12.31. Jesus, that's awesome. Then in roughly a year, it went up to almost $1,000. That's super awesome. And that's an increase of about 8,000%. So like, great. What happened to the second one? Well, the second one on July 9th, 2016 was the date of the halving. And that was $650 on July 9th, 2016. On the all-time high for that year, and December 16, 2017, it was around $20,000. That's about a 3,000% increase. So from 8,000 to 3,000, it's went down by about 2/3, or it's a third of 8,000%. Great. So it's a third. Now from the second halving, the third halving, what's going to happen? I don't know. But if we look at history, make an educated guess. So from the first halving to the second halving for the all-time high type of thing, it went from 1 year between these two dates, about a year and a half. So maybe this one, conservatively, maybe 2 years, maybe 1 year, maybe 1.5. But if we look at history, 2 years, 1, 1.5, 2. Makes sense, right? So if we have a $10,000 Bitcoin at the price of halving, which we have almost right now. I think we're like a couple $100 away. We hit 10,000 I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. And it went down, which I knew it would. I don't see why people get so hyped up about $10,000. People are not going to FOMO in until they see like a $30,000 Bitcoin. Just telling you. So $10,000, that means between these two parts right here, we take a look at here to the relative all-time high, 20,000, 10,000, 100,000. What we're looking at is the percentage increase. So from 8,000% down to 3,000%. Let's take it down to about a third. Let's say it's 1,000%. 1,000 times 3 is 3,000. 3,000 times 3 is, well, 9,000, but let's deal with round numbers. So 1,000% increase. So if it's 10,000 on May 2020, and we go up 10x, we're looking at 100,000 Bitcoin. Everybody got it? Great. Let's take a look at the same type of thing, but Ethereum. So Ethereum, everything being considered, the price went live on July 30, 2015 at $1. During the second halving, when the halving occurred on July 9, 2016, Ethereum was $10.91. How sweet is that? And then in December 16, 2017, just a year and a half later, it was $1,400. That is a 140x increase, roughly. Can you imagine for $10 you put in, every $10 you put in? You go to the movies, like, you and your wife, you just lost $3,000. So amazing return. That was, from $1 to $10, you're like, 10x. But look at this one. From the second halving to third halving, we are at 221. I do not see Ethereum going down that much lower. I believe it'll only go higher towards the halving. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's at $200. So if we take $10 to $200, that's a 20x increase, right? 20 times 10, 200. So if we do the same thing over here, we say, well, 1,400 times 20 is $28,000. Now, before your head blows up and you just call me a charlatan, you may be right. You may be right. 20,000 is pretty high, right? That would be like almost a $3 trillion market cap. But let's just go with the 10,000 number, okay? Let's all just be easy peasy and just say, how about 10,000? So 10,000, after what we looked at, does that not seem reasonable now? Now remember, this is 2020. When people watch this video in 2 or 3 years, they were like, man, that guy was so off. Ethereum went so much higher. I'd rather say that Ethereum's going to be 10,000 than to say something wacky like 50, 60, 70, 100,000. That's a little crazy, but who knows? But I think 10,000 is definitely doable. Heck, the all-time high was 1,400, and that wasn't like breaking a sweat. We didn't have the infrastructure that we had, didn't have all the different big players in the game. There wasn't the track that was laid down. DeFi wasn't even, it was talked about, but not that much. Now, we have a lot of things going for us. I think it's going to happen. So, the problem we have is getting out at the right time. Because how do we make sure that we get those profits? Well, to get these profits, we need to have an exit strategy. And let's go over that right now. Okay, so let's go over this. So here we have our Bitcoin chart. This is overall from the beginning of when it was actually recorded. We know that Bitcoin started in 2009, but this is when it was actually recorded from 2013 all the way to today, right? Somewhere in February 20th, 2020. So we've got this overall picture. Let's take a look at what happened with this bull run. So this bull run, the last one, started around November 12th, 2017, and it was about $5,800. Now, some people would say, well, the bull run started back here, it started over there, but just for the sake of argument, let's just put it right around here, because that's when we see a nice little trend line go vertical. Fantastic. So what happened? So from November 12th to December 17th, that's about a month. It went from $5,800 down here to about $20,000 here. So you had to hit your peak roughly around 4 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks, something like that. And then what happened? Well, the problem is that after that, you go through what I call a slow burn. This one sucks. This is what I went through, and it's awful. What you see is it keeps going up and up and up, and mentally you're thinking to yourself, this will never go down. This is awesome. I'm good to go. I'm the smartest man alive. I'm a genius. Nothing can stop me. And then you start to see these things just kind of toil down and down and down. You're like, oh, it'll go back up. And it goes up a little bit, and then it goes down, down, down. And it goes up, and it goes down, down. And before you know it, you're stuck over here, and the price is $6,200. And depending on where you bought, you could either be like wrecked or super wrecked, and especially if you held it all the way down to $3,000 like I did, because I am stubborn and do not like to take losses. However, it's a good teacher, puts ice in your veins and teaches you to be patient. Now this leads me to the moment we've all been waiting for, the Ethereum exit strategy. Now I've learned some things along the way, and I can tell you this, that if you don't have a strategy in place, your mentality will hold you back. Because just like what I talked about, you think, oh, it'll never go down, it'll keep going up, and I can wait a little bit. Before you know it, you start losing and losing and losing. And nobody can predict the top or the bottom. I don't care if it's Nostradamus himself. You will not gonna be able to time it right. It just doesn't happen. And all the TA people that say, oh, I can do it, you're full of it. You're full of it. Dollar cost average in and out, and you'd be fine. So here's my exit strategy. So I'm thinking to myself, it's going to go to 10,000, right? And hey, look, it might go to 100,000. I don't know. But I want you to notice one thing. The amount of Ethereum remaining. Just watch this number, okay? So let's say I'm going to think around $1,000 I want to sell. And right next to this $1,000 is a price point of $9.93. Now, why do I have $9.93? Well, I learned this from Mr. BXRP, pretty smart guy. He said, look, everybody's going to have their sell walls. They're going to pick these points of like round numbers. Everybody likes round numbers, right? So they're going to put those in, and then on the exchanges, all these different sellers are going to come in, and you can just get passed by, and that's a problem, right? So if you have it at 1,000, you might miss out. But if you had a 993, then boom, 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 everything is taken care of, and you're good to go. Now all the other people at 1,000, they have to wait sometimes because they're all huddled together. But you are smart. You put it at 993 or 992 or 984 or whatever it is, some kind of crazy number below that round number point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell about 5%. So let's say I have 40 Ethereum. So 5% of 40 is 2. I'm just going to sell 2. And I've got 38 left, and I'm going to profit $2,000. 2 times 1,000, 2,000. I can get that. I know that math. All right. Let's say it goes to 2,000, right? So I'm not going to sell 2,000. I'm going to sell like around some crazy number, 1,968, somewhere around there, right? And I'm going to sell 10%, which means I'm going to sell 4. So if I sell 4 from 38, now I got 34. 4 times 2,000, 8,000. So right there, hopefully in a small amount of time, because if you went around for the 2017 bull run, you know that how fast things can go up. They can double like that. So maybe in 3 or 4 days, I made 10 grand. It's a good day, right? And let's just say that, I don't know, I didn't do this, but if I did do this, let's say I bought 40 Ethereum at $200. All right, well, that's about, what, 8,000 bucks? So if I just sell, my 4 and 2 right here, I've made more than my money back, and everything's good. Now I'm just living the dream, baby. I'm riding a gravy train with biscuit wheels, no problems, no issues, and I'm just waiting for this train to come in. So let's say I think it's going to go to 4,000, which I do believe. I picked this number, 37.89, I don't know. And I'm going to sell 20%, get a little feisty. So I sell 7, I have 27 left, and I make $28,000 profit. Pretty good, right? Now we go to 6,000, 59.92, 20%, 500. So you can see how this all rolls in. And to leave you not short, you don't have to pause this video and watch it. In the description, I have my Bitcoin, my Ethereum, and XRP and Ethereum exit strategies all in a Google spreadsheet. You can access it anytime. Take a look. This is just what I'm doing, not financial advice, just what I personally am doing. Now, if you are someone who is younger than me and want to let it roll, let it roll. Don't take any profits out. It's up to you. I don't care what you do personally. Only thing I do want to say is don't be like me and hold bags for years and years and years without taking some profit, because it keeps things tight. And I always thought that things were going to go up, but it never actually did. So just be careful. That's all. And but I want you to notice one thing about this amount remaining. At the very end of all these things, I still have a Bitcoin. I still have a lot of XRP. I still have Ethereum. I still have EOS. I still have Chainlink. I still have Cardano. I still have a lot of those, even after my exit strategy, because I never know if these things really do hit, not the moonshot, the Mars shot, where it just goes like crazy bonkers, $50,000 Ethereum, XRP at $200, and like Bitcoin at $1 million a piece or something crazy, right? So I never give it all up because you never know. But I can tell you this, it takes a lot of stress off when you got a lot of this fiat, or if you have a stable coin in the bank or in your digital exchange, and it's not a big deal. So you can feel like, hey, I'm going to be okay because I got all this stuff in reserves and I'm good to go. So look, that's it for today's video. I want to say thanks for sticking around with me through the rants. If you've got time, stick around another 2 minutes. We're going to go over the scam of the day. And let me tell you, some of you guys did fantastic work because we wiped out 5 scams. And that's awesome. In one day, it's unheard of. Now we've only got 4 left. So if you got time, stick around. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. I appreciate you guys coming by. We try to clean up our community here. So what we're trying to do is get rid of all these different scammers. The problem with scammers is that this is a big year, 2020, 2021. If people come in and get screwed out of their money, that one person tells 10, 10 tells 1,000, 1,000 tells 10,000. And they say that cryptocurrency digital assets is a cesspool. And it is for drug dealers and for the cartel and for Silk Road and for hitmen or whatever craziness they say because they got screwed out of the money. So let's make sure that they come into a hospitable place by cleaning up all these scammers. So in the description of every single one of my videos, there's going to be a nice big fat sentence that says scam of the day. And next to the scam of the day is a link. It's going to take this handy dandy Google spreadsheet. And we've organized it pretty well thanks to Wen Mullet. He gave me a great suggestion, which was all these guys up here. These are all the scams we've already taken care of, right? So no one's going to get screwed out of their money by these guys. And we did pretty good. Like yesterday, we removed 5, so it was pretty awesome. So we've only got these 4 left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what we talk about here is, first I say this, and I talked about this in the video already, but treat everything as a scam until proven otherwise. If you're ever in doubt, like, hey, Ripple, are you guys giving away 10 million XRP for free? Contact Ripple through the actual official website and email them. It takes you 24 hours to get a response back. They're going to tell you, no, you're crazy, it's a scam. Hey, Binance, are you doing a big airdrop where you're going to give away 1,000 Bitcoin to me? Email them. No, that doesn't happen. Nano, hey, I heard that if I give some private keys to you guys, then I get some free stuff. Is that true? No, that's a scam as well. So if you're ever in doubt, go to the official website, email them, you get a response back, save yourself some money. Also, if you could help us out with these present scams, that'd be great. So all you got to do is just look for the ones that are, if there's no date removed, that means that they're still active. All these have been taken care of, so we're good to go. So we click on this link right here. It's going to take us to this video. And what we're looking for? We're looking for 2 things. First of all, let's check the comments section because that's a lot of scams, right? So it says here these are scams, but that's just a red flag. This could be legit, I don't know. But what we're looking for is what's called an asymmetrical giveaway. So it says here, and it's just a obvious, just a recording. Looks awful. It says to verify your address, just send from 1,000 to 1,000,000 XRP, and we'll give you 10,000 to 10 million XRP back. Don't you worry, buddy. We're here for you. No, you're a scammer. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to get rid of you. So we're going to downvote this. I dislike this. We're going to look for the flag, and scammers always hide it. Click on the report or the flag button, and we're going to say spam and misleading. We're going to choose one, scams and fraud. Go on here, this applies to a link from the video description, and click next. And I'm going to say this is a scam. Now you can feel free to use any colorful language you want, but just click report and off it goes. Now, if I only do this, it's just one crazy guy who's doing a YouTube video that reports a scam. But if you do it, now we're 2. And then if everybody else who watches this video does it, now we're talking about 1,000 people notifying YouTube that this is a scam and this gets taken down and people don't get screwed over. And if you don't think that people get scammed out, I did a poll where it was about 600 people and 20% of them said that they had lost money. Some people lost a lot of money. So that's why we try to do this, clean up the space, we should be good. And that's it. I want to say thanks for sticking with me through the rants again. Really appreciate it. If you like these types of videos, there's going to be that $1 trillion DeFi video coming up. And it's going to be one on the left, one on the right. I don't know exactly what they are because it's all curated for you by YouTube. And that's it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.